My dear students, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. How are you feeling? And how are you listening today? Feeling good at heart and feeling good at mind. And of course, feeling good while you are listening. All is important. Because remember, when you are physically not feeling well, then your listening also gets affected. And when you are feeling, in terms of your thought process, boring, maybe loaded up, maybe already some information, some thought process, something which is bothering you being cooked up. This all affects how you are sitting in this class, how you are listening. Because today, we are going to begin a skill which I feel is the most important among all the skills. Most important with the perspective that now we are ready to interact with others. Abhi tak to dekhiye, we spoke of learning self-awareness. We spoke of learning. We learn how can we manage ourselves. How can we be intelligent enough that in social environment we will use our social intelligence. From today onwards, from personal skills, we are entering into interpersonal skills. Two people are interacting. Two colleagues are involved in a dialogue, in discussion, in feedback, positive and negative. You are acting on behalf of the company, dealing with customers. I am, as a teacher, as a resource person, interacting with you through technology, through camera, regardless wherever you are sitting. Interpersonal. One-to-one, one-to-many, and sometimes many-to-many. That's why I said your tone, your eyebrows, the way you sit, the way you talk, the way you smile, the way you look, the way you move your body language. It's all important. Because everything is communicating. That's why if you remember the first few sessions, many countries around the world, when managers were asked, which skill is the most important? Whether you speak of Australia or Pakistan or Europe or North America, communication skill was at the top. Now, communication skill does not mean it has to be in English. No, it's not a language-dependent skill. We use English or Urdu or whatever language. Skill is important. Language is only used when it is understood and you feel it is important that the other person will understand your message in this particular language easily. In other words, if you are in China, in Korea, in Japan, or even in Pakistan, if you are in Shikarpur or Sangad, in Khairpur or Khanpur, or in Nowshera or Chamkani, see what language you will use? English may not be important. What important is that is your message heard and communicated the way you like to communicate? You are representing maybe a multinational company. You may be representing a national company which has a head office in Karachi. And you are in Nowshera. You are in Khanpur. Not many people would understand English. So you have to, my dear students, English, yes, okay, it's an international language. Fine. You may say it's a language which might be understood many countries around the world. That's good enough. But when we are listening and learning about communication skills, it's not language. What important is that your message, your words, your gestures, is it understood the way you like it to be understood? Is it the way that it moves the body, it moves the mind, it moves the heart of the person who is listening to you, who is receiving your message? Let me share with you, as a manager of a multinational company, remember, communication is one of the managerial functions, right? Representing a company, representing a community, representing a group, representing an office, public or private. You have to interact with people. It could be one-to-one, it could be one-to-many. So let me share with you what are the areas which are important as a manager, as an officer, as an executive representing an office. This person, you and me, this person communicates, number one, he or she shows openness to others' views, displaying willingness and ability to listen and manage divergent views. Divergent views. Number two, this person, he or she, you or me, listens fully to others' viewpoints, understanding their issues and their concerns, yet responding with frank feedback. See how the cycle, the loop of the communication skill is closed? And speaking of the frank feedback, let us recall that instrument which I'm sure you have filled it up, answered it, assessed yourself and sent it to the university, virtual university, VU. किस इंस्ट्रूमेंट की मैं बात कर रहा हूं? PAMS, Personal Assessment of Managerial Skills. उसमें अगर आप वो क्वेश्चंस जो आपसे पूछे गए थे, which were there to assess you, that how do you provide feedback, and a frank feedback, and especially when it's a negative feedback. That's why the chapter we are opening in this book now says communicating, managerial communication, but it's a sportive communication. We have to give the negative feedback. The word is not all green. Sometimes it's, in the gray area, in the red area. Either you have to call someone for explanation, or you are there to provide an explanation. Frank feedback. Professional feedback. Number three, this person diffuses anger and tensions by listening without interruptions. Number four, this person listens openly, participates in all the meetings, and this person actively listens, showing sportive gestures during meeting. Sportive gestures. We will learn what are these sportive way of communicating. And please remember, this is the area we are calling interpersonal communication. Communication is important. This skill is important. But how do you communicate that it looks as if it's constructive? It's synergistic. It's cooperative. It's way forward. It's bringing positive reinforcement. That is sportive communication. ये तो नहीं ना कि आपने मैसेज पास किया, आर्गुमेंट हीट अप हो गया, पूरा एनवायरनमेंट चार्ज्ड अप हो गया. Angers can be seen on the faces through the words, and sometimes through the hands and actions, and sometimes through the kicks. बताइए, होते नहीं ऑफिस में, मार्केट्स में? People fight. Sometimes fight physically, sometimes fight on arguments. Fighting on arguments, good enough, as long as you can hear, I can hear, and we can settle it. We can listen to the difference of opinion with a sportive attitude. Anyhow, so this person demonstrates good listening, showing understanding and empathy with team and peers. Empathy. Yes, difference of opinion is there. But he listens. He provides feedback. Sometimes negative feedback. Promptly, frankly, respectfully. Number 7, this person uses face-to-face direct dealings. मेरे बारे में गुफ्तगू मुझसे हो रही है. मेरे बारे में गुफ्तगू मुझे पता ही नहीं और सारी दुनिया में हो रही है. That's not good. That will be a political communication. Politics is there in the organizations. I know, you cannot deny it. But this political communication will charge up the environment in the office. It will charge up the environment in the house, in the market, in the family, among the colleagues. That's not sportive communication. We need to learn communication skill. And number 2, we need to learn the skill which can be called sportive communication. Helping others to move on. So people can help you to move on in your career. And the last point here is, my dear students, ladies and gentlemen, my dear professionals, the last point is, this person, you or me, communicates through talking, through listening, through responding, and through acting. Actions speak louder than words. सुना होगा आपने ये जुमला. Listening, very important skill. Higher you go in the ladder, in the career, better it is that you listen. I do listen. When I ask you, recall कीजिए, I'm listening to you. When I ask you, what did we learn in the last session? I'm listening to you. Listen patiently. Listen with full attention. And sometime, let me give you the tip. Sometime, senior managers, senior professors, someone who will listen to their colleagues, their students, their peers, they will take notes. अच्छा, जो कोई आप बोल रहे हैं और कोई नोट ले रहा है और आपकी गुफ्तगू को सुन रहा है, what impression would you have? Don't you think this person is giving a lot of importance to what you're saying? वो एक अलग बात है, आपके जाने के बाद वो कॉपी बंद करके कहीं और रख दे. That's good enough. But while you are talking, someone is listening and listening carefully and attentively. You think, you develop a perception. You think, you get a message. उसने कुछ कहा नहीं. You were talking, he was listening. But you got a message that you have been heard and he has taken the notes. That's good enough. You already have a response from him. You feel satisfied. So देखिए, outcome of communication is, my dear students, outcome of communication skill should be satisfaction. Are you satisfied? जरूरी नहीं है कि हर चीज आपकी मान ली जाए, लेकिन सुनी तो जाए. सुनना तो आपका हक है और सुनाना भी आपका हक है. And the one to whom you are talking, maybe your brother or sister at home or father or mother, maybe it is the supplier or the vendor or the customer in the market, maybe it is the manufacturer, maybe on the phone, maybe through email, maybe through video. These are different methods. But at the end of the day, you will say, yes, this person listened to me, responded me, he behaved, she behaved in a very nice way. That is sportive communication. In other words, word of mouth will go up. So that's why I said, my dear students, this skill is very important. It's not only important for the big cities. It's important for all of us, regardless where you are. And if you are a student in smaller cities at the tehsil and maybe at town level or union council level, and maybe if you are listening to these lectures in those places where English is not the language of communication, no problem. Communication skill is only a skill which make you competent and proficient that your message will be heard loud and clear. Language तो फिर आपको choose करनी ही पड़ेगी. और लैंग्वेज तो फिर आपको वही चूज करनी पड़ेगी कि जो दूसरा आदमी समझ सके। और आजकल को तो फिर देखिए, दोज टूल्स आर अवेलेबल, ट्रांसलेटर्स। एक जमाना होता था, पीपल वुड, इफ यू गो टू चाइना ऑन ए बिजनेस ट्रिप, you would hire a translator. Translators were available. You pay them hourly or daily. They will be with you. But now, you can load up a translator application in your iPhone, in your smartphone, in your mobile phone. अरबी में, इंग्लिश में, स्पेनिश में, चाइनीज में, जापानीज में, it should be good enough that it can translate what you are saying. So you have the control over what is being said. And of course, if you want to learn other languages, please do. ये functional language होगी ना, जिन लोगों से आपने कम्युनिकेट करना है। देखिए, अगर आप फर्ज कीजिए खैबर पख्तूनख्वा प्रोविंस के अंदर अपनी कंपनी को रिप्रेजेंट करने कराची से नौशहरा या पेशावर जा रहे हैं और थोड़ी सी पश्तो लर्न कर लेते हैं, आई थिंक यू विल सेल योर आइडिया, यू विल सेल योर प्रोडक्ट, यू विल सेल योर प्रोजेक्ट excellent way. And of course, you can have a little familiarity with the culture. Say you go to South Punjab or Sindh, pick up few languages, pick up few words of that language, which is the language of the local town. See how things will move. Language will develop a feeling of owning. That yes, you appreciate their language, their culture, their food. कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. You are there for only a day or two. But you will develop those memories, skill, art. Yes, of course, it's science. So you need to develop this skill, and sooner you do it, better it is. Interpersonal communication, it is for you and for me, for all of us, to become an effective manager. Effective. कि जाने के बाद भी आपकी कही हुई बात का, आपकी बताई हुई मिसाल का, आपके दिए हुए वर्ड्स को people would remember. Effective. You will need to develop this interpersonal effective communication skill. And of course, when you are interacting in your life, in your career, can you make a decision that, oh, I will only interact with people who will be speaking Urdu or Sindhi or Punjabi or Pashto or Sindhi or Balochi? No. There will be many people who will come across. When I travel, sometime I had to speak to Spanish, Malay, Chinese, Korean, Thai, my God, French. Knowing English, they will not speak in English. You have to speak in French. That is my experience going, through the Paris airport. अंग्रेजी उनको आती है, बोलेंगे नहीं. And you have to, buy a sandwich or go for certain needs which you have. क्यों नहीं अंग्रेजी बोलेंगे, वो एक अलग कहानी है. Learn what is the difference and dispute between French and British. But that's all. Spain, for example. I went to a conference in Barcelona. I had to stay there for 3 days. People will only speak Spanish. आती है उनको English, ये नहीं कि नहीं आती. They won't speak. So if you have to survive for 3 days, अच्छा कुछ खाएंगे तो सही, कुछ पूछेंगे कि कहां जाना है. Now this could be one choice, okay, I don't want to go. But there are challenges in your career. I had to visit this city. Number one, it's a beautiful city, Barcelona. Known for football, known for many clubs. Beautiful city. Evenings are great. And then, Barcelona has a business school which is known as Harvard of Europe. Business school. 250 faculty members, PhD faculty members under one roof. So you see, sometimes you have the challenges. अच्छा फिर एक और, while in Barcelona, I just had an idea. कि जिंदगी में शायद पत्नी दोबारा ये चांस मिले ना मिले, let me go to Andalusia. Andalusia is a province in Spain. And you know why I wanted to visit that? I wanted to see Cordoba and Granada. I wanted to see that history. Cordoba and Granada. This is the province of Andalusia. So how would I communicate? ये तो और कह लीजिए कि उनके एक रूरल एरियाज हैं, going from Madrid and Barcelona to Cordoba and Granada. Cordoba has no airport. So I had to take a train, overnight train. And think of it, when you will take an overnight train, say you are going to Sangar or some interior Sindh, where people will only speak Sindhi, or maybe in South Punjab, or Pashto. So important is that you want to visit Cordoba one time in your life. So language should not become barrier, my dear students. I did go. I went to Cordoba by train. I took a bus. Of course, I went around the Cordoba Mosque, hundreds of years old, that told me the story. What went on and why it went on the way it went on. Anyhow, that's a different story. Then I took a bus. I looked around the whole Andalusia province. Beautiful green olives, gardens and trees on the hilly areas. Beautiful landscape. No wonder why Muslims went there and stayed there for hundreds of years. And then, of course, the city of Granada. और मुझे देखकर वो सिटी फिर ख्याल आया और याद आया कि ये जो शालामार बाग लाहौर में मुगलों ने बनाया, एक्चुअली इट्स ए रेप्लिका, कॉपी ऑफ द Granada garden. And then in Granada, if you have a chance to see that palace known as Granada Palace, they give you only for half an hour. Only half an hour to visit that palace. And you pay, मैं आज से 5 साल पहले की बात कर रहा हूं, you pay 10 euros. Only to visit for half an hour that particular palace. Beautiful place. No technology, no lighting, nothing. Now we are talking of 600 and 500 and 700 AD. How the light was coming and how the water was flowing, giving you a beautiful sound throughout the palace. And everywhere on the wall it was written, La taqata illallah, La mulka illallah. But people could not get the message which is being written there. Anyhow, let's come back to the class of the communication skill. You see, you are listening and I am sharing a story with you. And I think the way I shared the story, I think you have taken a trip to Spain and Andalus. So you have to be effective enough that language should not become a barrier. And you have to speak with people so they understand you. देखिए ना, जब मैं गया हूंगा बस का टिकट भी खरीदा होगा, मुझे स्पेनिश तो नहीं आती, लेकिन once you make a decision that I have to communicate, pick up those common areas. How are you going to communicate? And communicate in a sportive way. That's what we like to learn. You will need to communicate in a variety of different ways. Number 1, verbally, face to face. On the telephone, very important. You have to communicate in writing. The kind of words you choose in email, it turns off the people or it attracts the people. The way you open the letter, the way you open the paragraph in your letter, the opening sentences and the closing sentences. And how do you use electronic communication? Emails, texts, webcams, webinars, content on the internet. अब ये सारा आपका electronic communication है. And of course, non-verbal communication. कुछ कहा नहीं, फिर भी बहुत कुछ कह गए. आंखों में बहुत कुछ कह दिया. Non-verbal communication. So, my dear students, whether it is verbal, whether it is oral or written, whether it is technology or face-to-face, Whether it is synchronous or asynchronous, doesn't matter. What important is that when you are interacting with people, with other people, interpersonal, this is a way you network with other people. This is how you develop your network. This is how you connect with others. Sometimes you close the channel, sometimes that channel is open for years to come. तो कौन सा बेहतर होगा बताइए जरा. When you are living in the memory of the person in heart, you communicate heart to heart. You communicate mind to mind. You communicate words to words. Formal communication, it has to be the kind of words you use, the kind of gestures you use. Is it acceptable? Is it respectable? That's all. Putting it together gives you an artistic and scientific way of communication skill. Of course, there are many methods, yes. But these methods, however, you need to learn. And you need to understand all these methods and use them whenever they are required. The tone and the volume, the gestures and the body language, and the way you talk and the way you walk, the way you sit in the meeting, the way you stand, it all speaks up. We all use these methods of communication, but often we use these skills without recognizing that we are doing it. I want you to recognize. See the way I use my hand? I want you to recognize. अब recognize के word पर मैंने जोर दिया है. So you understand that recognizing that skill which goes to the mind and the heart of the people will stay there in the memory. And it will recall some action and reaction. And naturally, we want to create a reaction which will be sportive. You sport me and I sport you through communication. And speaking of communication, then think of the body language. We all pick up and send these messages to each other. Using the way we stand, facial expressions, our clothing and gestures, all without consciously aware of the process, communication process. And of course, in non-verbal communication, body language is important to you as a manager. And again, speaking of body language, are you interacting with same gender or the different one? Male to male or male to female? Female to male or female to females? It helps you to get your message across to your colleagues, to your staff. But being aware of the body language of others can also give you an insight. How comfortable they are feeling while you're talking. How discomfort they are feeling while you're talking. और जब discomfort आप पैदा कर रहे हैं, stop your mic. चुप कर जाएं, सुन लें दूसरों की बात. इसलिए कि then you will create aggression. Then you will create heat. Here we are learning a skill which should create light. So in other words, knowing what is the body language that the other person is telling you is also a very important communication skill. So to become a manager, you will need to reflect on your ability, very important point, on your ability to communicate. And my dear students, if your ability to communicate is not optimum, please develop your communication skill to help you facilitate with effective communication with colleagues. ये आपको करना पड़ेगा. Sooner you do it, better it is. Sometime I ask my students, of course, class में तो presentation skills हो गई. While taking these sessions, why don't you after the session sit among your colleagues? Maybe one will speak, the others one will listen. And the others will give him feedback or give her feedback. Maybe you speak in front of your brothers and sisters. Ask them to give you feedback. Language is not important. What important is the way you stand, the way you talk, your body language, your fluency of the words, your selection of the words. your rhythm, your tone. This is all important. कोई नहीं मिलता तो stand in front of the plants and speak to the plants. Stand in front of the mirror. See the reflection. Make a movie of yourself. आजकल तो टेक्नोलॉजी का दौर है. कैमरा लगा लीजिए. Make a movie. मोबाइल फोन यूज कर लीजिए. While you are 2 minutes audio. Listen कीजिए. वीडियो हो तो ज्यादा बेहतर होगा. So you can see your facial expressions. Tight तो नहीं है. You can see the smile on your face. Do it again and again and again. कामयाबी का राज इसी के अंदर है. You will fail. You will do it again. पहले अपनी लैंग्वेज के अंदर कम्युनिकेशन स्किल को एनफोर्स कीजिए, इंपॉर्टेंट कीजिए, डेवलप कीजिए. Then switch the language. Go to a language lab. Go on the internet. Find someone. Maybe mocha.com. Find someone who can help from a country. If you want to speak Chinese, someone from China will help you. If you want to speak English, someone from the English-speaking countries may help you. Connect. Pronunciation भी बेहतर हो जाएगी. लेकिन देखिए, take some time to honestly reflect on where you are now in respect to communication skills. Reflect तो आप ही को करना होगा. Number 1, how good you are at your communication skills. Are you a good speaker? अभी तो हमने पब्लिक स्पीकिंग की बात नहीं की. Remember? कायद-ए-आज़म मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना, generally he used to speak in English. And he used to speak in English to people who will not understand English. Masses of subcontinent. पाकिस्तान तो अभी नहीं बना था ना उस वक्त. Hundreds and thousands of people sitting, listening to him. Not understanding what he is saying. But they knew one thing, that whatever their leader is saying must be true. See the trustworthiness? See how the words are being narrated? They have become history. Each one of the word being selected by the leader becomes a public speech. And then, are you a good listener? How good are you at interpreting non-verbal messages? How good you are? बाज औकात में देखता हूं senior managers, deans, principals, CEOs, खास तौर पे CFOs, understand ही नहीं करते. CTOs, देखिए CFO और CTO, they're more into numbers, into algorithms, into models. But we are talking here interpersonal. Language of the people. लोगों को टर्न ऑफ कर देना तो बड़ा आसान काम है. लोगों को इस तरह से अपनी बात करना कि आप उनकी बात भी सुने और अपनी बात भी उनको सुनवाएं. और नॉन वर्बल मैसेज की मैं बात कर रहा था कि इंटरप्रेटिंग द नॉन वर्बल मैसेज, आई सी समटाइम people making people uneasy for minutes and hours without understanding. यानी 1 घंटे में से 50 मिनट खुद ही बोल रहे हैं. अब यहां तो देखिए ना, ये 50 मिनट का जो सेशन है, मेरी मजबूरी है कि मैं आपको सुन नहीं सकता. लेकिन अगर इन 50 मिनट्स को मैं ऐसा टफ बना दूं आपके लिए कि कानों पे भारी पड़ने लगे, दिल पे कुछ बोझ सा पड़ने लगे, so I think then that's not good enough. So you have to use the kind of words, the kind of gestures, the way you interact with people, that people will listen to you. How good are your written communication skills? How confident are you when you speak on the telephone? How good are you at using email and other forms of electronic communication? These are all methods of communication and we have to use them. अच्छा, बाज़ औक़ात फिर SMS यूज करते हुए फॉर्मल, इनफॉर्मल ठीक है, आप अपने दोस्तों के साथ जो भी लैंग्वेज, जो भी एब्रीविएशन यूज करें, दैट्स गुड इनफ. बट फॉर्मल, लेट इट बी फॉर्मल. Let the words be not chewed up. Pick up those words which will send a professional message. It will raise your standard in the eyes of the person who is receiving it. So my dear students, that brings me to a point, what is communication? कौन सी स्किल हम लर्न करने जा रहे हैं? ये कौन सी स्किल है जिसको मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट कर रहा हूं, प्लीज रिकॉग्नाइज कीजिए आप कहां पे खड़े हैं. असेस कीजिए. When you speak, people understand what you're speaking. When you speak, people listen attentively to you. कितनी मर्तबा लोग आपसे पूछते हैं, जरा जी दोबारा कहिएगा, माफ कीजिएगा, क्या कहा आपने? समझ में नहीं आई आप क्या कह रहे थे. अभी भी कुछ नहीं पता चला जी आपने. जब समझ में ही कुछ नहीं आया तो फिर रिएक्शन क्या होगा? कैसे आप एक्सपेक्ट करेंगे कि वो प्रोजेक्ट्स कंप्लीट हों, वो असाइनमेंट्स वक्त पे सबमिट हों? समझ में कुछ नहीं आया. और इसमें कोई बायसनेस नहीं है और कोई डिवीजन नहीं है कि जी सिर्फ कराची और इस्लामाबाद वालों को या लाहौर वालों की कम्युनिकेशन स्किल बेहतर होनी चाहिए. नहीं. No matter where you are, no matter what language you speak, you must be a good communicator. और फिर आप देखिए, अगर आप अच्छे कम्युनिकेटर हैं तो लोग आपकी कैसे नहीं बात सुनते. बात सुनाने का आर्ट आना चाहिए. सो नंबर 1, कम्युनिकेशन का मतलब यह है द ट्रांसफर एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ मीनिंग. ना मीनिंग ट्रांसफर हुआ, ना मीनिंग का पता चला. तभी कहा ना, सॉरी सर पता नहीं चला जी, कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर नहीं हुआ जी. मुझे कुछ और 3 दफा पूछने के बाद भी अगर समझ में नहीं आया तो स्टूडेंट कहता है चलो छोड़ो जी, इस प्रोफेसर को पढ़ाना ही नहीं आता. सो मीनिंग इज ऑल्सो नॉट ट्रांसफर्ड, अंडरस्टैंडिंग इज ऑल्सो नॉट ट्रांसफर्ड. सी हाउ इंपॉर्टेंट द कम्युनिकेशन इज. सो कम्युनिकेशन इज नंबर 1 टू ट्रांसफर एंड नंबर 2 टू अंडरस्टैंड द मीनिंग. अच्छा, फिर उसमें हमने ये कोई डिफरेंशिएशन नहीं की है कि ये मास कम्युनिकेशन है, प्रिंट मीडिया को यूज कर रहे हैं, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मीडिया को यूज कर रहे हैं, डिजिटल मीडिया को. दैट इज नॉट द डिस्कशन. डिस्कशन इज इट इज योर, इट इज अलीज, फातिमाज, रशीद, अरसलान्स, अरमगान्स कम्युनिकेशन स्किल. Ali talking to Arslan, Rashid talking to Fatima. Is he understanding? Is Rashid able to transfer the message? Is Fatima able to understand what is being said? So transfer means the message was received in a form which can be interpreted by the receiver. जब वो मैसेज इंटरप्रेट होगा तभी रिसीवर जो है आपको यस या नो कहेगा, जेस्चर देगा, सर को हिलाएगा, आंखों की मूवमेंट से बताएगा हां आपने मोहब्बत भरी बात कही है या आपने डांट दिया है. और फिर बाजुकात ये भी होता है कि जी आपको डांटने का कोई हक नहीं था. जी, द स्टूडेंट हैज द राइट, द एम्प्लॉय हैज द राइट. सो प्लीज learn a communication skill where the message is transferred and transferred in a sportive way, transferred in a respectable way, transferred in a professional way. Understanding the message is not the same as the receiver agreeing with the message. नहीं, वो एग्री और डिसएग्री करना उसका राइट है, लेकिन उसको मैसेज तो समझ में आए. ये बिल्कुल वही बात है, मैंने शायद इससे पहले भी आपसे शेयर की हो कि when the aeroplane comes in the territory, in the range of the airport, the controller at the airport asks him, do you hear me loud and clear? Do you hear my message clearly? इसलिए कि देखिए, जब तक जहाज हवा में है तो कैप्टन राइट लेफ्ट उसको एक रेंज होती है, he can drive the aeroplane. But when he has to or she has to land, there's only one narrow strip. You can't afford going maybe 1 or 2 degrees right or left. That's a disaster. So the message should be loud and clear. where the wheel should be touched. सेंटर वाला व्हील सेंटर लाइन पे आए, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, अदरवाइज देयर विल बी डिजास्टर. होते हैं, और मैं आपसे शेयर करूंगा कि इनकंसिस्टेंसीज जब कम्युनिकेशन में होती हैं तो क्या प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं. ऑफ कोर्स इंटरपर्सनल कम्युनिकेशन मीन्स वी आर टॉकिंग वन टू मैनी और वन टू वन, एंड ऑल्दो वी विल नॉट गो इनटू द डिटेल ऑफ organizational communication, but of course organizational communication means the network and the system of communication which is used in the organization. But our focus here will be on the interpersonal communication. And how do you develop this? What is the function of this communication? We got 4 functions. Number 1, we want to control maybe the time or the resources or the movement of the others. We want to motivate others. We want to express our emotions. We want to inform others. बाकी तीनों को भी अगर आप छोड़ दें, informing others, maybe suppliers, maybe manufacturers, maybe stakeholders, maybe investors, maybe students parents. Information in information economy has become an important asset. So if we take only one function of communication as information, तो माय डियर स्टूडेंट्स, दिस इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फंक्शन. लेकिन अगर इंफॉर्मेशन देते हुए ना इंफॉर्मेशन ट्रांसफर हुई और ना इंफॉर्मेशन सही तरह से अंडरस्टैंड हुई, तो बात तो कुछ ना बनी. ये ना कहिए जुबाने यारमन तुर्की वो तुर्की नमी दानम, मेरे दोस्त की लैंग्वेज टर्किश है और टर्किश मुझे आती नहीं है, तो फिर दोस्त काहे का हुआ? आपका कुलीग कैसा हुआ? आपका पीयर कैसा हुआ? वो कस्टमर जिसको आप सर्व करने जा रहे हैं वो कैसा कस्टमर हुआ? वो कंपनी जिसमें आप काम कर रहे हैं, लर्न द लैंग्वेज, वट एवर द लैंग्वेज इज रिक्वायर्ड, सो द इंफॉर्मेशन कैन बी ट्रांसफर्ड. सो स्पीकिंग ऑफ द कंट्रोल, इट मीन्स इट्स अ फॉर्मल एंड इनफॉर्मल कम्युनिकेशन. It acts to control individuals' behaviors in the organization. Yes? We use this communication to controlling the behavior of people. Remember when you told these are the ethical policies, these are the plagiarism policies, this is the dress code, this is the time code, this is the check-in and check-out. Control. पता तो हो ना कि चेक इन में क्या रेंज है. कुछ कंपनियों में मैंने देखा है, कुछ ऑफिस में मैंने देखा है, मोर देन 15 मिनट्स, हाफ डे इज गॉन. अगर आप 15 मिनट से ज्यादा आएंगे, आपके आधे दिन की छुट्टी गई. कुछ जगहों पर मैंने देखा है, वी डोंट केयर व्हाट टाइम यू कम, यू हैव टू स्पेंड 8 आवर्स अ डे. सो टाइम इन एंड टाइम आउट इज नॉट मटीरियल. सो दिस हैज टू ए कंट्रोलिंग फंक्शन. सो वी यूजिंग कम्युनिकेशन for controlling. But you have to communicate this as a message to others. What is the time code? What is the dress code? What is the ethical code? In your course, what is the plagiarism policy? Motivation. Communication is used to clarify for the employees what is to be done, how well they have to do it, and what can be done to improve your performance. So say if you are monitor of the class, if you are in charge of an office, if there are 3 people working for you, if you have been given a responsibility of a project, you have to inform them how the performance of the team on the project, how the performance of the people working together will improve. So you will use your communication skill to motivate them. And if your communication skill is not good enough, you can demotivate them. दोनों ही बातें हैं. ये भी मैंने देखा है कि लोग उस लीडर से डिमोटिवेटेड है. काम करना चाहते हैं, लेकिन उसका कम्युनिकेशन स्टाइल, उसका इंटरेक्शन स्टाइल, उसका गुफ्तगू करने का अंदाज, उसका मैसेज देने का अंदाज, सो ह्यूमिलिएटिंग, सो डिस्गस्टिंग, सो इरिटेटिंग. I don't want to work for him. कुछ तो है जो इफेक्ट कर रही है. नंबर 3, इमोशनल एक्सप्रेशंस. speaking of interpersonal communication, remember, two people are interacting, right? Two minds are interacting, two bodies are interacting, and two hearts are interacting. Social interaction in the form of work group. Communication provides a way for employees to express themselves. Or last part hai, the function of communication is, have you informed? Are you informed? Individuals and work groups, they need the information to make decisions to do their work. But if the decision is not communicated, and communicated in such a way that it is not understood, so information is vague. The message which is being received is vague. Sometimes the message is complex. So my dear students, this is very important, and please take a look on the communication process and see where you feel difficulty. Of course, you give a message and then message is transferred in a medium. I am sharing with you the message related how to develop communication skills. ठीक है? This is my message. What is the medium I am using? बताइए जरा जल्दी से. Medium is technology. Internet. Through television, you are getting these signals. Through internet, you are getting this content. You see me through technology. And on the other hand, on the other end, you are receiving my message. So I being the sender, of course, I'm using English language. But when it goes through the internet, it is translated into different protocols. Let's not go into the detail what those protocols are. But the message of me is encoded. Then it goes through a medium. Maybe through fiber optic, maybe through microwave, maybe through satellite, maybe through newspapers, maybe through notes, maybe through books. ये सब मीडियम है. प्रिंट मीडिया, डिजिटल मीडिया. डिजिटल हम इसलिए उसको कहते हैं कि डिजिटल मीडिया में जो मैसेज एनकोड हो रहा है वो 01 की फॉर्म में है, इसलिए हम उसको डिजिटल कहते हैं. फिर मीडियम कौन सा है? जैसे मैंने कहा फाइबर ऑप्टिक. Wire could be a media. Air could be a media. And of course, on the other end, you are the receiver, you are getting this message. And once you receive this message, you give a feedback. हाँ जी, डॉक्टर साहब ने आज अच्छा नहीं पढ़ाया, डॉक्टर साहब का ये लेक्चर समझ में नहीं आया, या बहुत अच्छा समझ में आया. फीडबैक है ना. बाज़-औक़ात ये फीडबैक इमीडिएटली आफ्टर द सेशन इज ओवर वर्चुअल यूनिवर्सिटी को मिल जाता है. बाज़-औक़ात ये सेमेस्टर के एंड पर आपसे लेते हैं, फीडबैक तो लेते हैं. और बाज़-औक़ात मैंने देखा है कि व्हेन आई रिसीव द ईमेल ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स, हालांकि जनरली मुझे नहीं आनी चाहिए, व्हेन आई रिसीव द ईमेल ऑफ द स्टूडेंट, sometime from the SWAT, and sometime from I received an email from Japan. Some student of Saudi Arabia studying in Japan was listening to the lectures, my lectures, through virtual university. Virtual university lectures are also available on YouTube. So she listened to those lectures and then she wrote me an email. I have enjoyed your lecture. Thank you very much. I'm doing my thesis. Can you help me? So you see, now you are dealing one-to-one. So feedback is very important. So next time when we join in our session on communication skills, please remember that when there is more noise in your message, noise कहां से आता है? आपका या तो मैसेज क्लियर नहीं है, या मीडियम जो आपने चूज किया वो ठीक नहीं है. तो मैसेज के अंदर जब नॉइज ज्यादा हो जाएगी तो रिसीवर को कुछ नहीं समझ में आएगा, या बहुत कम समझ में आएगा. तो जब कुछ नहीं समझ में आएगा और बहुत कम समझ में आएगा तो फिर प्रॉब्लम्स तो होंगे, मैसेज रिसीव सही नहीं होगा. तो इंटरपर्सनल कम्युनिकेशन प्रोसेस के अंदर भी देखिए, आई एम द सेंडर, यू आर द रिसीवर. यू रिसीव माई मैसेज थ्रू योर रिसीवर्स. ये हमारे जो सेंसरी ऑर्गन्स हैं, ईयर्स का डायाफ्राम, दैट्स अ रिसीवर. एंड दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट that what is the language and how this message is being transferred. So please keep in mind, developing this communication skill means, number one, you should be able to transfer the message. And number two, the other person should be able to understand the meaning of the message. Communication skill के अंदर ये दोनों ही चीजें important है. Transferring of the message और meaning of the message. अगर इन दोनों के अंदर कोई प्रॉब्लम हो गया तो फिर कम्युनिकेशन स्किल ऑप्टिमम नहीं है. यू हैव टू इंप्रूव. ट्रांसफर ऑफ द मैसेज आप उस लैंग्वेज में कर रहे हैं जो लैंग्वेज उसको आती नहीं है. वेल, यू हैव टू चेंज द लैंग्वेज. मीनिंग ऑफ द मैसेज, आपके मैसेज भेजने में कोई इशू था, उनके अंडरस्टैंड करने में कोई इशू था. बट वट एवर द इशू इज, either make sure that the message is being said in a nice way, in a respectable way, or you make it available yourself for the feedback that you can repeat the message. So we'll continue on this discussion that how can you become a good sender, what media you will use, or what medium you will use, and how the receiver will give you a gesture that yes, I have heard loud and clear, I accept, I understand, I will implement, and I'll do it. Thank you, and thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next session and continue on how to develop good, effective communication skill. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.